Is it winter? Yes, it is winter. Is it time for Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com? Yes, it is as well. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram columnist Mac Engel, and I am freezing. That's why I'm wearing this sweater, which I think I wear about 4 or 5 times a year. That good-looking gentleman on the other side of your screen is Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Clarence, you seem to be dressed appropriately for this winter blast that we've had. How are you holding up in this 50-degree climate?
I'm fine. I'm fine so far. I haven't gotten outside in it though, but you know, where'd you get 50? I got 38 over here. I mean,
well, no, I'm looking at my weather forecast, my extended forecast. It's going to be a high of 50 right now. We're in the 30s.
Okay,
move up for a little bit today. I'm practicing when I get laid off. I'm going to be a weatherman someplace, probably in some place in northern North Dakota, something like that. So I'm rehearsing for that. But until I do that, we're going to continue on with Cowboys Overtime, sponsored by the great people of Window Nation. Thank you very much, Window Nation, for riding with us all season as the Dallas Cowboys season continues to do something that none of us expected, which is trend upwards towards a Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that either. Clarence, Cowboys have 6 games remaining in their regular season, 6 games. A few of them are dogs. A few of them are legit. Actually, the back half of these 6 games looks pretty intimidating. But the first 3 look like garbage. Clarence, do you think the Cowboys can win the NFC East right now?
Well, you know, I think that if they, you know, there's twofold here because it's not just the NFC East, it's the NFC. Because they win the NFC East, they can win the NFC if you really want to look at it. You know,
well, I'm going first things first. First things first.
Well, I mean,
can they catch Philadelphia?
Well, that's my point. If you catch Philadelphia, you're the best team in the NFC. That's all I'm saying. I'm not, you know. It's all what and what. It's all in the same thing. But the question, yeah, can they catch Philadelphia? Well, they just need to take care of business. I think they're on the roll. They're feeling good. You look at their schedule. You look at the final 6 games, and there's some opportunity there for the Cowboys to continue to get on the roll. I think clearly the toughest 2 games are Philadelphia on Christmas Eve at AT&T Stadium, a game that they should be favored in. You know, if you look at most people have the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles on most power polls, and then you have a game at Tennessee on Thursday, and you know that's the tough at Tennessee with that against their running back on a Thursday night on the road. It's going to be cold. That's a tough place to play. I think that's the game that they could get the Cowboys. And again, you have Washington at the end of the season, and Washington's playing much better football now, but that game may not mean it at that point.
Well, Clarence, the Cowboys came out of their Thanksgiving Day stretch of 3 games in 12 days with a 2-1 record. They should have been 3-0. They blew that game, a 14-point lead in the 4th quarter at Green Bay to lose in overtime. They came back and blew out the Vikings on the road because the Vikings are frauds. And then they came home on Thanksgiving and they beat up the Giants because the Giants really aren't that good.
Let me stop you right there. You keep saying the Vikings are frauds.
They're frauds.
Okay.
Yep,
they came back and won. And
I don't care. They're frauds.
They're who they are. They have the second best. They're going to be in the playoffs.
I don't care. Yeah. So what?
They're going to win. Well, they are
frauds.
They're everybody's frauds. But don't take away from the Cowboys' victory by calling the Vikings frauds when they play who they play.
I get to feel how I feel. Okay. I don't feel seen right now. I don't feel seen. Vikings are frauds because their quarterback is an overrated backup. I said it. If you had to go, we saw that game.
Would you take his pay cut bank account?
Yes.
Okay.
Would I take any NFL players?
That quarterback has finessed the system like nobody's business.
Oh, he's a hero.
So
he's a hero of mine. No kidding about that.
All I'm saying is they have players on that team and they play well against everybody else. The Cowboys. I mean, let's be honest about it. Everybody gets the Cowboys.
They don't scare me as we look around the NFC. There's one team in the NFC that I think I don't know about that, and it's not Philadelphia. It's not Minnesota.
I know what you're talking about. It's easy.
Yep, it's San Francisco, and I know that there are some other teams, you know, that have played well in spurts. But if you look at the moves that they've made and the health that they have on that defensive line and a quarterback who's, I know everybody kills Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's won a lot of games. And
and just from a humanity standpoint, I think it's messed up how dirty they did Jimmy G. They did Jimmy G dirty, okay? And now he's their hero. Okay, they did him dirty. They tried to trade him. We don't want you. All the stuff you did for us. Don't come back and love him now because you need him. And you're actually, you fell into something that, because the quarterback they had, he was their future. But I don't know if they have this record, they're this team.
They don't
with him at quarterback.
They don't.
He got hurt and they had to go back and fall back on Jimmy G. So
and you have to give John Lynch some credit for massaging that enough to the point that they were able to renegotiate.
I don't have to give them credit. I just have to give Jimmy. There were really no options for Jimmy G. At that point, they weren't going to give him away, and so they had to make the best of a bad situation. But I'm gonna give all the credit. I'm gonna give all the credit to Jimmy G.
No, the way he handled
it. Because was trying to kick him out. John Lynch was part of that.
Yep, and they drafted Trey Lance for a reason, because they're like, we need to make an upgrade at this position. And you know what? Long term, Trey Lance might be better than Jimmy G. I don't know, but right now, when I look at the NFC, that's the team that scares me, and it scares me no different than it did in January, simply because of that defense. I think that defense could do to Dallas or any team really what they did back in January. That front four killed them. And especially if Bosa's healthy for both halves, as opposed to just one, like in the NFC wildcard game against Dallas back in January, I don't see the outcome being that much different. Now, we could talk about that part forever, but let's look at these next 6 games for the Cowboys, because I think when the season started, we thought, well, okay, that one's going to be a little bit difficult. That should be winnable. Of course, the season's played out differently than the way any of us projected, because that happens all the time. Cowboys host the Indianapolis Colts, and Jeff Saturday. We could talk about this forever. How Jeff Saturday got that job is the most bewildering, pathetic thing I've seen from an NFL franchise in a long time. But the Colts are 4-7-1. Matt Ryan is washed up. The Colts are terrible. They can't score points. I would think that you think this is going to be a walk blowout win over a bad team on Sunday night.
Well, it should have been. I mean, they made the Steelers look good, and the Steelers have been bad all year. That game should have been close.
Nope. And you're talking about the Monday night. You're talking about the Monday night game.
Yeah, right? The Monday night game. Yeah, that game should have been close. And Jeff Saturday should be 1-3 after this week. And the only team he beat was the god-awful Raiders and another fraudulent coach. But
he's the worst. I totally agree. Like, people just keep giving him jobs, and he stinks. Talking about Josh McDaniels. The guy's a joke.
Another fraudulent coach. But yes. So yeah, this whole process stinks. I mean, if you really want to know, no real coach respects how Jeff Saturday got this job. And whether that's Mike McCarthy, anybody else in this coaching profession respects how he got this job. Love him as a person. He should have turned the job down, because it's insult to the people who are doing the real work, and have really toiled and committed their lives to being a coach. But as far as the game is concerned, I mean, the only thing that they have is a running back in their running game. And if the Cowboys,
Jonathan Taylor's a nice player.
Cowboys still have to prove they can stop the run every week. But that defense, everybody else, the Cowboys should roll in this game. And the good news is the Cowboys are playing better. That offense is getting better. They're getting help for that defense. This should be an easy win at home.
Coming up after that is a team that is actually worse than the Colts. The Houston Texans, which are currently 1-9, don't have a quarterback. The last reports are Clarence E. Hill Jr. did work out for the team as a potential stopgap quarterback. Clarence, how did the tryout go as a potential quarterback solution for the rest of the season?
When I was in high school at Schulenburg High School in Central Texas, and I played quarterback, it was 39 quarterback sweep. Okay, we just Clarence to the left, Clarence to the right, Clarence drop back and take off.
Okay? Right, and I'm guessing
Clarence has no arm. Clarence has no arm. He had some legs back then, had no arm.
Well, you've had knee surgery since then. A couple of kids. You're in your 50s. What do you think your chances are running the Texans offense against the Cowboys?
They have no chance. Again, the thing the Texans have, the thing the Cowboys, and it's really not about
the Texans. Stink. Don't tell me the Texans have anything.
Stop it. I watched the game.
You are not. That's a lie. You are not watching Texans games. That's a lie.
Let me finish, sir.
Okay.
I'm inside the game here. Okay. All I'm saying is the only thing the Texans have, the same thing the Colts have, is they have a solid running game. They have a pretty good running back out of Florida, who's been the best part of that team. And again,
what's his name?
Pierce, Damian Pierce. Come on, sir.
Okay. I will make sure you know because I didn't know.
I know you didn't know.
Yeah,
It's my job to know. Okay, it's my job to know.
Who's watching the Texans play?
Come on,
the
now.
office of the Texans not even watching them play. They're horrible.
Stop the run. That's all they do is stop the run. They have it's stop the run.
Okay, so the Cowboys beat the Colts. Cowboys beat the Texans, and then after that is a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is interesting. Coach Doug Peterson seems to have been the right fit for that team, and specifically former first overall pick quarterback Trevor Lawrence. They had a nice win against Baltimore on Sunday where they came back with a heroic comeback. It was really nice. It was actually a fun game to watch. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good, and he's been a little up and down. The Cowboys saw him in their final preseason game last year, his rookie year, when Urban Meyer was still there before he drove that thing into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Clarence, that game scares me a little bit. The Cowboys should win that one, but that one is not going to be a walk, only because I think Jacksonville looks like they might have something there. When you're playing a team that might have something, especially a quarterback who can make a few plays, you can lose that game, and it's in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean they should be. I mean it's Jacksonville. Come on, they lucked up and beat Baltimore, but it's still Jacksonville, and we love the quarterback from college, but he's still not lived up potential so far in the NFL.
Not yet.
He's not been that guy.
Nope. Okay, so then on Christmas Eve, the game everybody has talked about, it should be a phenomenal game. It'll be a Fox 3:30 game, and that is Philadelphia, which is currently 10-1. I think the Cowboys win that one. You?
Yeah, I mean they should win that one. I mean, only Cowboys quarterback the Philadelphia beat lately, the past few years, have been the backups, whether it's Ben DiNucci or Cooper Rush. They don't beat.
Oh, that's right. Hey, Cooper Rush is 4-0, so let's slow down, young man. And then after that, the Thursday night game, come on, you told me to get through this quicker, so we're getting through them quicker. And then at Tennessee on Thursday night, that's the 29th of December. They're 7-4. They just lost the home game again to the Bengals. What about that one? That one I think they're going to lose.
Yeah, beware of King Henry. I think that they're going to. The Bengals. The Titans have really good run defense, and so that's going to be a tough game on the road on that Thursday night.
And then we're going to finish it up at the Commanders, worst name in professional sports. At the Commanders, that game will be in January. You can know that one's going to be cold. You will be there. I will not be because you don't care enough about me to take me. Do you think the Cowboys will beat Washington? Do you think they're going to win out, Clarence?
Well, I don't think they're going to win out because I have them losing to the Titans, but I do think they beat Washington to get because I think they're going to be serious about that game. So you can go into the playoffs with some momentum.
All right. So there you have it. Clarence has the Cowboys going 5-1 in their last 6 games. I have them going 4-2. Don't ask me which games that they're going to lose. We will come back in a minute after this message from the great people at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no payments and pay no interest until 2025. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Window Nation. Buy windows from Window Nation. Ooh. Just trying to do everything I can to help out. Okay, Clarence. It's November 30th. We are in week 58 of Odell Beckham Watch. The head coach, the general manager, the Hall of Fame general manager, the executive vice president of the Cowboys, Charlotte, Jerry Jr., Rowdy, the guy, the janitor, the equipment guys, everybody with the Cowboys saying they're all in on Odell Beckham, who, oh, by the way, now has the distinction of having been kicked off of a plane. Kicked off of a plane. He was in first class recently flying from Miami to L.A., and he got kicked off of a plane. Cowboys say not a red flag because, as you and I both know, in these situations, the Cowboys don't acknowledge red flags. The guy's a diva. He's a head case. Are they going to sign this clown?
He's not a clown, but he's not a clown.
Yeah.
But
if somebody gets kicked off a plane, what are you saying about that guy?
He had a medical emergency. Something happened. He didn't get arrested. There were no incidents, no charges filed. Clearly, there's never been a misunderstanding. He was in first class. I mean, when last time you sat in first class? You don't know how tough it is for those guys in first class. You just don't know what it's like to be in first class and want to take a nap. and they're bothering me with these damn seatbelts.
That's the best question. When was the last time I sat in first class? It's been so long. I hate flying.
We never get upgrades anymore.
Flying so much anymore. I am becoming you've got a few years on me, and I don't know how you handle it. I hate flying so much anymore these days. I'm like, just get me on the plane. You can put me up in the luggage bin. I don't care. Just get me there. So when you say when's the last time, I don't know what's first class like anymore. I just put my head down when I walk through.
Okay, can I ask you this?
Sure.
Why do we need seatbelts on the plane? If it goes down, being the seatbelt is not going to help us.
I've asked that question a lot. I have, because I don't know. Like, do you get, like, as you get older, have you had? Because you think about mortality and stuff like that. When you sit on the plane, you're like, is this one going to go down? Is this going to be? We haven't had a plane crash in a long time.
Yeah, but if it goes down, being in a seatbelt is not going to help you.
You don't think that's going to save you? I don't think it's about like. Have you ever been on a plane with really?
Maybe they worry about the turbulence. Yeah, but still, you can just go. I can hold on. I'm not flying out of my seat.
Look at that, Clarence defying the FAA and all those wonderful people.
Okay, let's be honest about it. Do you
keep you safe?
Do you turn your phone off on the plane? Do you put it on airplane mode? I do not.
No, I asked.
That's such a lie.
Oh, I asked a buddy of mine who's a pilot and at American, and I asked him about that, and he's like, no. He said in the front end days of all that technology, there generally used to be some potential interference, and now it's not really an issue at all. So, do I do it? Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, do you really? I do. Sometimes I do sometimes, but it's not like anything I do consciously.
I mean, why did they tell us turn your plane off? It couldn't interfere with the. No, it cannot. It cannot interfere with anything. This is the thing that I don't want to see on flights or in public places. People listening to their phones at full volume while they're sitting next to in the road. But they can do that whether it's on airplane mode or not. They can have the music on.
That's my big thing. I don't want to hear it. Hey, your music sucks. You're ugly. You're stupid. Quit bothering me.
Okay, let's get back to Odell Beckham. The Cowboys won, and they're full steam ahead. This is a blip on the radar. Will they sign him? It just depends on the money. I mean, it's always going to come down to money.
You think they're going to do it?
The Cowboys get the last visit on December 5th. He gets to go to the Giants. He gets to go to the Bills, and we'll see what kind of offers they make. He is coming to Dallas, and the Cowboys are going to put the full court press out on him. If he wants Michael Gallup money, there's a chance he can stay. If he wants Tyreek Hill money, he's not coming to Dallas.
Will anybody give him Tyreek Hill money? Going to Green Bay. Green Bay season looks lost even if they get him.
No, he's not going to Green Bay.
Okay.
He's visiting the Giants in Buffalo right now. He's not. Green Bay's not on the table.
I misspoke.
And the Cowboys are the favorite. Let's be honest. The Cowboys are the favorite. He really does not want to go to a cold weather situation coming off the knee injury. And why would anybody want to play for the Giants coming off 2 ACL surgeries when they lost 2 receivers at home to ACL surgeries on their home turf?
Don't get me started on the home turf thing. I'm like, it's the same. We love our athletes. No, you don't. You want to make money. That's the only reason why you have that fake turf to begin with. So, Clarence, do you think they're going to sign him?
There's no guarantees because it's going to come down to money, and I don't know how tight Jerry and Steven will be with the purse strings because he wants a multi-year deal. He doesn't want to. Would you
give him a multi-year deal? I wouldn't. Would you?
I would give him a 2-year deal. I'll give him a deal through this year and next year.
I might agree with that, but I would give. You got to give something you can flush relatively easily.
Well, there'll be dumber years on the end, of course.
Okay, so let's move on to. We got 2 more topics here on Cowboys Overtime, sponsored by Window Nation. First one is a very interesting and incredibly well-reported story by my friend Miss Sally Jenkins, award-winning Sally Jenkins, daughter of the late great Dan Jenkins, along with an equally talented great writer, Mr. Dave Marinis of the Washington Post. That collaborated to write an 8,000-word story about Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, and specifically how he was raised and his impact on the NFL, and how as many things as he has transformed in the NFL, the one issue that he has not done, unlike Mr. Art Rooney, and that is the area of race relations, and specifically what he potentially could have done, but elected not to. Totally deliberate in my mind. They included in the report a fascinating photograph that they found of Jerry Jones as a 14-year-old when he was going to high school in Little Rock High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. It is not the famed high school, Little Rock High, that is the point.
Little Rock Central.
Little Rock Central. Thank you. Little Rock Central. Thank you very much. That was basically ground zero for integrating public high schools in the United States, in the Deep South. He went to a different high school, but it went through a similar situation, one that did not receive nearly the type of attention. Jerry Jones acknowledged it, talked about it at length, said, I was a, quote, curious kid. I was told not to be there by my high school head coach, his head football coach. And he basically, he labeled it as he was an observer. He didn't get in the way. Clarence, you have some very pointed thoughts about this situation, not just specifically as it relates to Jerry, but just in general, the fact that the NFL continues to fail minority coaches, and the fact that hardly any of them get a shot to be a head coach. And we talked a little bit about Jeff Saturday and the Colts. Jeff Saturday had no experience. He coached a private high school. And then Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, decides, let's make you the head coach, thereby skipping a whole bunch of guys, white or black, who had been in the system trying to work their way up for that opportunity for years. Clarence, when you talked, first of all, let's go back to this. The popular sentiment on Twitter, which is an idiot's, an idiot's errand, if there ever was one, is Jerry's a racist. You've known Jerry for 20 plus years. I've known him for a little bit less than that. I can think of a lot of things to call Jerry Jones. I have a really hard time calling him a racist, but at the same time, there is a failure here. Can these things be separate?
Well, I mean, I think
you have one and not the other.
Let's not legitimize Twitter comments. So
Clarence, wait a minute. Some of these accusations come from pretty established people that I trust and have some credibility.
No, there's no doubt about it. But the great majority of them, they say, well, Jerry Jones in this photo, Jerry Jones has not hired a black coach. Jerry Jones was against the anthem, ergo Jerry Jones is racist. And I think the whole situation is a little nuanced than that. It's more nuanced than that.
I agree.
Especially when you know Jerry Jones and know the situation. My disappointment, just going back to the photo, to start there, and is that he 65 years later, he expressed no regret. I was just a kid. I was just curious. Who else was a kid? Emmett Till was 14 and a kid.
Yep.
We could, they're so that just shows you your privilege and your point of view. I was just a kid, and to not know what was going on. Little Rock Central, the Little Rock Central situation was 2 miles away.
Yep. It
happened at the same time. Okay, anybody that grew up back then understood the climate of the day and the environment that was going on. So to say that you didn't know what was going on, that happened September 9th. September 7th, the National Guard of Arkansas blocked 9 students with Little Rock 9 from going to school at Little Rock Central. They took the National Guard.
Right.
So
to President Eisenhower telling the governor of Arkansas, you're doing this.
So to say that you didn't know what was going on couldn't happen. I mean, we're not that naive, especially when you grew up in that time.
And I think the other thing, Clarence, it's important to make this distinction. I think most, to say any is an incorrect generality, but I think most white people that would have been growing up in Arkansas
there's no doubt.
would have had, because I have family members that grew up in West Virginia, and I love them, but I'm not going to look past their flaws on this one. They would have been raised and taught racial tendencies. To sit there and say that there was no racial bias or uncomfortableness, the idea that they would have been interacting like, oh no, black people are going to be, to sit there and say that they didn't have a problem with that is a lie.
Right. Yeah. So that wasn't a welcoming committee that Jerry was part of. He was he was the innocent bystander because he was standing in front of the doors.
Yep.
You weren't
the
agitator, but you weren't an innocent bystander. You was there behind the bullies or whoever else who were blocking these kids from going to school. So that happened in whenever that in 57, 65 years later. I don't think that event impacts how Jerry Jones runs the Cowboys in terms of race relations, in terms of his hiring practices. Again, because I had, I wrote a column about this, and certainly Jerry should not have been there. He should at least say, hey, maybe in hindsight, I should have gone, but he's punted on several times, but opportunity to say, hey, I made a mistake. I probably shouldn't have gone, especially I feel for those kids that were trying to get to school. I just probably shouldn't have been there. Yes, I was 14. I was stupid. I was curious. But looking back now, I shouldn't have gone. That's all you have to say. You move on. He punted several times and several opportunities to say that. But Just knowing Jerry, I just think that, as I said, just tell the whole context. Charlotte, his daughter, went to Little Rock Central because she wanted to go to a diverse high school. Okay, so if Jerry's that guy, then why is he letting his daughter go to that school?
Fair. Yeah, because like you said, it's nuanced and there's a lot of gray here. There's a lot of gray.
Yeah,
and I think if you look at Jerry consistently, if you look at his behaviors, he said it. I'm doing things in the financial best interest of the Dallas Cowboys. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. But I think there's another owner in the NFL who did that too, while accommodating. I don't know if accommodating is the right word, but if you look at how the Rooneys ran the Steelers, they made a ton of money too. And there's no family in sports maybe that did as much to promote equality and just fairness more than the Rooneys. No, and he could have done that and he elected not to. And that was his decision.
Yeah. And I guess Jerry's all about the money.
Yep.
And not about humanity. And sometimes, when you say is he racist, sometimes he's a capitalist. Yep, and when you look at it from the outside, looking in, sometimes those lines are blurred. They certainly get blurred. Because when you're a capitalist, you don't care about humanitarian issues. You just care about money. So they can make you come across looking a certain way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he made that trade. And I know he's done a lot of good things for charities and a lot of places. He's given a ton of money to these places, Clarence. He has Salvation Army, and that's great. But when it comes to this, he promoted Will McClay. Will McClay is an African-American, terrific director player.
Listen, with the Cowboys. People understand he made Quincy Carter the 12th black quarterback drafted in the history of pro football. He didn't do that.
Is that right?
Yes.
God,
not drafted in the first 2 rounds. Excuse me.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that.
You didn't read my story. Anyway,
it was good though. Actually, I did read it. I just I don't remember anymore. Sorry.
So, and he didn't do that because he was trying to. We need to get more black quarterbacks. He did that because he truly thought Quincy Carter would be the quarterback of the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And that's how the decisions he made. I mean, Dak Prescott is the richest player in Cowboys history. Yep. And the coaching staff right now is one of the most diverse coaching staffs in the NFL. He just has not had a black coach.
No, and let me ask you this: if he had hired, let's say, and I think this is my issue with it, when he's gone through the hiring process, I think remember Clarence, when you and I were covering the team together, and they interviewed like Marvin Lewis over the phone. Or maybe at the airport or something like that. It was a token interview.
They interviewed Marvin Lewis when they were trying to bring in Mike McCarthy just a couple of years ago.
Okay, so there's
that. They did bring him in for a visit, but they wanted to go with Mike McCarthy.
And that's fine. That's his right to do that. But he's had Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles was on Bill Parcells' staff. Todd's a terrific coach. He's had other good African American candidates, and I just don't think, in my own feeling, that those guys really got a shot. And if he wants to hire Mike McCarthy, then that's his right. He owns the team. He can do that. My disappointment is did you really give these guys a shot? If you look at the Rooneys and they looked at Mike Tomlin really didn't have a shot until they said it. They brought him in, talked to him wait, we've got something here. We like this guy. And look how it's worked out. And I think that's my disappointment in the hiring process, is that too many of these guys get brought in as token interviews and they're not really taken seriously as a viable candidate when they should be, because you and I both know it. If the team's pretty good, the guy's got a shot. If he doesn't have a shot, he's not get the job. And I look at Cliff Kingsbury. The only reason Cliff Kingsbury got that job in Arizona, he's a good-looking white dude who had ties to quarterbacks when he was at Texas Tech. That's it. If Cliff Kingsbury is 325 pounds and he's bald, he doesn't get that job. The end. And that's discrimination. I can go crazy about that one. Cliff's a great guy and all the good stuff, but he didn't deserve that job. And the way the Cardinals were playing is reflective upon him, and a terrible decision to give that guy that job. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, you said it all. We could go down the list on guys who shouldn't have got jobs. When you go to Hackett and Denver, and
God,
and they're certainly still going on. So yeah, so Jerry has the power and influence to make a difference. Will he going forward? Can he be a change maker at this point in his life for more than just money?
He could. He could. It depends on how he wants to do it. All right, we've done this forever. We got one more topic real quick, and then we're gonna wrap this up. College football playoff will be announced. The finalists will be announced on Sunday, the day after the conference championship games will be played on Saturday, including at Jerry World. Number three, I can't believe I'm saying that. Number 3, an undefeated TCU will play number 10, Kansas State. TCU is a 2.5-point favorite. They should get in for the first time ever. This will be the first time ever a team from Texas gets in the playoff. The only team that's come close out of Texas to get in the playoff has been TCU and A&M during the COVID year when they got screwed out of that bid because the COVID year was a disaster. Clarence, I want to see him get in. It's a great story. I want to see Max Duggan, the quarterback, go to New York City as a Heisman Trophy finalist. I have a vote. I'm not allowed to say who I'm going to vote for, but
yes,
you can do this.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Vote for the home team. Don't be Kirk Bowles, who voted against Vince Young.
God, everybody's still bitter about that. I have buddies of mine. What Kirk's Bowles like? I hate his guts because he didn't vote Vince for the Heisman. Clarence,
don't be that guy.
I'm not going to be that guy. I love the Max Duggan story because I've eaten so much crow on that. I'm like, this guy's done. He's played 3 years. He's not any good. He wasn't even the starting quarterback to start the season, Clarence. It was Chandler Morris.
TCU is the best story in college football, and no one
Hands
really
down.
talking about it. I mean, no one's really talking about it. And for them to get there, they should get there regardless of what they do against Kansas State. They've done enough to get in.
Do you think they will?
Yes, I think they will.
Do you think Max Duggan will go to New York City as a Heisman Trophy?
I think. I mean, there's no front runner. He should go.
I
mean, there's no head. This guy has to be. I'm not that the kid from USC is going to win.
So do
I don't. But I just don't think that there's. Especially with the Alabama quarterback falling off and everything else. He should be a part of this conversation.
I think it's C.J. Stroud and Ohio State blowing out Michigan as opposed to getting their butts handed to them at home against Michigan last Saturday. I think he probably would have won, but I think if you look at what Caleb Williams has done at USC, and I think you look at what Max Duggan has phenomenal stats, one of 3 undefeated teams in the nation. He's everything right that you want to celebrate in college football. He's graduated. It's all good. It's all good things. So I hope he goes. Clarence, we've done this way too long. This is a lot of fun. I will see you Sunday night. The Dallas Cowboys host Jeff Saturday's Indianapolis Colts. For all of your Dallas Cowboys coverage needs, please be sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. For your TCU Horned Frog coverage needs, check out the great work by Steve Johnson as well on StarTelegram.com. That's Clarence E. Hill Jr. I'm Mac Engel. Accept no substitutes. We love you, Window Nation. See you next week.